I had screamed myself raw earlier, and now nothing came out, only breath ragged and brittle, and the heavy hands of the shadow's assistants dragging me forward, as if my body were nothing more than a sack that belonged to them. My legs barely obeyed, and the fear had grown dull, distant. As though seen through water, my voice existed only as a burning pain in my throat. The shadow's assistants pulled me toward the iron steps, which clanged beneath every footfall, damp and cold, smelling of rust and ancient stone. Each step downward felt like a verdict already passed. My heels scraped metal, my knees trembled so violently that they practically had to hold me upright, not out of pity, but out of routine. At the foot of the stairs awaited the gate, the iron gate, massive, rust dark, exhaling cold air from its seams, carrying with it the weight of everything that awaited beyond. As it swung open, stale, icy air brushed my face, and the torchlight crawled across the walls, twisting shadows into gaping teeth. From the depths came screams, not sharp but worn, voices that had long since understood that screaming changes nothing. I had no strength left to ask why, no strength left to resist. I thought only of my wife, her morning smile, the brief kiss, her laughter in the light, and how impossibly far away it all now seemed, like something from another life. The assistants pushed me forward, further, ever further, the passage behind the gate sloping downward, endless, as if leading into the belly of the earth. I went because I could do nothing else, because everything inside me had already surrendered, and darkness took me. They were coming. I could hear them long before I saw them. The clumsy, sweating trampling of the shadow's assistants, who did not even attempt to be quiet, believing that noise somehow lent importance to their work. They did not understand that fear has nothing to do with volume. Fear grows in silence, in time and air, thick with old blood and cold stone. I am no man for speeches. I never ask why someone has been brought here, it matters not. The shadows mutter nonsense, the council invents reasons, and the assistants are too dull to know whether anything they say is true. I need no explanations. I read everything I need in their faces when they realize that there is no way back. I only want to hear them scream, to beg, to promise everything they have. They offer coins, names, secrets, plead with broken voices, swear they are valuable, but it means nothing down here. There is no bargaining, only me, my tools already lined up like loyal friends, each one old and dependable, a piece of history from all the nights they have shared with me. There is the Karen frame, whose cold bars hold the body exactly where it struggles most. The var and hook, thin and sharp, it's mere sight enough to make breath catch the shell mind wheel, barely touching yet grinding nerves to shreds. The storm tongue, a rod of metal so cold it burns on contact, and the high void, the iron mass that turns every breath into a desperate struggle. I run my fingers across the instruments, listening to the fates scraping over the metal, and it soothes me, a familiar sound, a promise of what is to come. The steps of the assistants grew louder, they dragged someone along, gasping, half broken, but not yet fully, not yet. I imagine how he would look, wide eyes, trembling knees, the pleading that would eventually turn into dry sobs when he realized no one below hears his words, no one counts his tears. I smiled, short, hard, it would be a good night. The morning had been ordinary, simple, quiet, a morning easily overlooked because one does not know it is the last in freedom. My wife had smiled, brushed a strand of hair from her face, and looked at me with that warm gaze that silences every sound in the room. One kiss, a brief laugh at the gulls, and my promise not to be late. I walked to the harbor, nets slung over my shoulder, hands rough from mending. I fixed things that others needed to keep their days moving. I barely noticed the high lord of the council approaching, with his retinue drifting behind him like smoke. I did not put my tools away quickly enough. He stumbled, barely recovered immediately, and moved on without even seeing me. I finished like none. All was quiet, nothing was wrong, nothing suggested anyone had been watching, until the shadow's assistants arrived, until hands seized me, until the air tasted of iron and my voice tore while I realized that no one would help me. They dragged me to the iron steps. I struggled, first with all my strength, then weaker, then barely at all. And as the iron gate closed behind me, all light vanished, and I knew no one would notice.